Good morning, Depot scholars. Here is your next lesson. It is on research. So we're looking at the project process here. We're trying to develop skills to work on independent projects and complete independent projects and learn independently. And one of the first steps is always going to be some kind of research. Now, I'm going to use an example here today of a topic that's maybe a little bit more academic, so that we can do some more academic type research, but it's also something near and dear to many of your hearts, and that is video games. Yep, you can do a project on video games. Now, let's say you're interested in the effects of video games. You know, everybody talks about how bad they are and all this. What if there were some good effects, and what might those effects be? Would they be emotional, social, physical, or like fitness related? What kind of effects would they have? So let's say I'm interested in that, and maybe my product for this project is going to be a pick-me-up. Maybe it's going to be a presentation that I'm giving to the whole school. Maybe it's going to be an experiment where I'm going to have students, some of my peers, play video games and I'm going to measure their heart rate or something like that. But whatever the case, I'm going to start by doing some research. Now, there's a couple ways of doing that. One, of course, is a simple Google search. So if I type in this, in Google here, I write benefits of video games. Now try to be as specific as you can here. I wouldn't just type video games, for example, or benefits, but benefits of video games. Hit enter. Okay, I've got some scholarly articles here. Looks like I've got something from Psychology Today. All right, I've got APA, video game learning may. So first of all, let's click on this Psychology Today. This is pretty recent. Okay. Now, one of the first questions you're going to ask yourself is this a good source? Is it reliable? Is it biased? Is it somebody that I can trust, somebody who knows what they're talking about? So how do I know? Well, I've got a good indication here because this is Psychology Today. Now, if I don't know what that is, usually you can scroll down to the bottom of the page and check out the About page and see what it is. This is a magazine, first launched in 1967, continues to thrive. They've got a bunch of renowned psychologists, academics, psychiatrists, and so on. Okay. The second indication is this guy's got a PhD, which doesn't always mean too much, but I can probably find out who he is. Look down here about the author. Peter Gray, PhD, is a research professor at Boston College. Okay, so this is pretty reliable, I would say. Sometimes you can actually click on the author up here and you can find out more about him. I'll bet we could. Now, this article is not very long, so I might read the whole thing. Oh, look at this references. Wow, that's really nice. That's a really good indicator that this is a good source. He's even citing his references. But I'm still going to, even though it's not that long and I could just read through it, I'm still going to start by skimming it. But before I do that, I want to make sure that I'm taking some notes here. All right? And I had started this earlier, but I'm going to open up a document, call it Research Notes on Video Game Projects, and put my first source in here. And for that, I'm going to just copy the URL. That way I can easily get back to this. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy the title and everything and this guy's name. And it's not making that easy for me. So I want to know everything about this. Actually, when I paste this, paste it without formatting. That way I don't have a big giant word there. And this guy's name I want. Peter Gray. Paste without formatting. There we go. All right. Now, rather than just read through this whole thing, because who knows, maybe it's not what I'm really looking for, I'm going to skim it. Now, my skimming technique is like this. I'm going to read the first paragraph, and then I'm going to read, for the body of the essay, I'm going to read the first sentence of each paragraph, and then I'm going to read the last paragraph of the essay. Okay, and that's going to give me a good idea of what the whole thing is about. In two previous articles, here and here, I summarize evidence countering the common fears about video games. Oh, look at this. So We have two more potential sources here, of course, they're the same person, but that's good. That they're addictive and promote such maladies as social isolation, obesity, and violence. I also pointed there to evidence that the games may help children develop logical, literary, executive, and even social skills. Evidence has continued to mount since then concerning especially the cognitive benefits of the games. Okay, so I'm going to look here. He's talking about cognitive benefits. All right, that was his thesis statement, right? Evidence has continued to mount since then concerning especially the cognitive benefits. So I know that's what he's focusing on. Most recent issue of the American journal Play includes an article by researchers Adam Eichenbaum, blah, 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 Sean Green, look at that, no relation, summarizing recent research demonstrating long-lasting positive effects of video games on basic mental processes such as perception, attention, memory, and decision-making. Such research employs two strategies, correlational and experimental. Okay, so he's describing some of the types of evidence here. In what follows, I'll simply list some of the findings that have come from this sort of research, all of which are summarized in the article by Eichenbaum. Improved visual contrast sensitivity, successful treatment of amblyopia, lazy eye. Improved spatial attention, improved ability to track moving objects, reduced impulsiveness. Wow. Action games improve performance and a test of the ability to refrain from responding to non-target stimuli in a situation in which most stimuli call for a response, but occasional stimulus call for no response. Wow. That's like the opposite of what I would have expected. Overcoming dyslexia, executive functioning, improved ability to engage in multiple tasks simultaneously, increased mental flexibility, reversing mental decline that accompanies aging. Wow, I'm interested in that. Improvements in job-related skills. Oh my gosh, we should use video games more here at the depot. To cognitive science, such research on effects of video games is fascinating in part because it demonstrates that the brain is far more moldable throughout a person's life than was previously believed. If you are a parent who's been limiting your child's computer play because of the claims you have read of harmful effects, the research summarized here and in my previous posts on video gaming might give you pause. And now, what are your thoughts and questions about this? What experiences have you had? Okay, so he's just asking for info here. I want to go back and read the rest of this paragraph. The bulk of the research suggests that the claims about negative effects of video gaming are largely myths and the positive effects are real. As children know in their bones, the kinds of mental skills that video games help to develop are among the skills that are increasingly important in today's world. Wow, that's probably what you wanted to hear, right? So what I would do now is, now that I've read this, I've summarized it, or I've skimmed this article, I'm going to go back and read in detail because this looks like a pretty good source. So I already wrote that it's cognitive effects that we're looking at here. Most of the research involves active video games, games that require players to move rapidly, keep track of many items at once, hold a good deal of information in their mind at once, and make split-second decisions. Many of these abilities tapped by such games are precisely those that psychologists consider the basic building blocks of intelligence. Okay, correlational and experimental strategies. The typical finding is that the gamers outperform the non-gamers on whatever test is used. So what we do is we test regular gamers in some perceptual or cognitive tests with otherwise comparable people who don't play video games. The best proof that video gaming improves these abilities comes from experiments in which participants are initially non-gamers and then some are asked to play a particular video game for a certain number of hours per day for a certain number of days. Hey, that sounds like a project we could do. Wow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quote this because this is an easy way to take notes. Now, it's not the best way to take notes, but it's really quick. And of course, I'm probably not going to want to put a quote like this in my final paper, but it's a quick way for me to just jot down some things that stand out. Okay, so he's just listing the findings. Now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and list all of these. So improved visual contrast sensitivity, at least if I'm interested. If I'm not interested in it, I don't know. I'm not really interested in visual contrast sensitivity or amblyopia. I'm more interested in this kind of stuff. Reduced impulsiveness I'm really interested in. So improved spatial attention. What does that mean? Improved performance and the ability to locate quickly and target a stimulus in a field of distractors. So I'm going to just write this, like I'm going to summarize this. Now this is a great thing to do. The more you can summarize and condense in your notes, the better. And I think all of these things are related to improved focus. All of these things right here in this section are related to improved focus. Reduced impulsiveness. And what I'm going to do here is, since he doesn't really give a lot of detail, he's just listing, I'm really interested in this reduced impulsiveness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this article. So he goes to Dye, Green, and Bavalier. And right here, I'm going to take this, and I'm not going to go to it right now because I want to finish taking my notes on this paper, but I'm going to write this down for later because I'm going to want to check that article out if I can. It looks like I might have a tough time finding that, but for now we'll just write that down. Okay, reduced impulsiveness. And I'm going to go down and do the same thing through the rest of this article. I'm just going to take notes. If something jumps out to me, improvements in executive functioning. What do we got here? So executive functioning benefits. I'm going to see what he says about that. It's a person's ability to allot his or her mental resources in ways that allow for rapid, efficient problem solving. Improved ability to engage in multiple tasks simultaneously. Increased mental flexibility. Reversing mental decline that accompanies aging. Wow, I'm interested in that. You guys probably don't care too much about that. But something here jump out? Yes, you're probably interested in this. Multitasking. So look at that. If you wanted to be a pilot, man, this stuff is so enables you to keep a target centered on a screen while keeping track of all this other stuff. So enhances multitasking. Oh my gosh. After I told you guys that was totally impossible, well, who knows? Maybe it's not totally impossible. All right. And I'm going to go down and continue this process for this whole article. Okay. I want to show you one more thing. So this is going to go blah, 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 blah. Then I'm going to go source number 2. And I'm going to find another source. I want to show you a resource called Google Scholar. If you want to get a little bit more academic, because even though this is an online magazine, it's not like what we call a peer-reviewed scientific journal. So it's not a real scientific journal. If we want to get really academic, so go into what we would call a primary source, where someone's doing original research. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a site called Google Scholar. Scholar.google.com. And I'm going to type in effects of video games into this search. And here, this is only going to pull up scholarly or scientific articles, so things out of universities, stuff like that, and books by professors. I can limit the time to since 2013 if I want to make it very recent. And you can see over here on the right which of these you'll be able to read as a PDF, because some of them are just going to give you the abstract. They're going to make you pay for the article. I was interested in this one earlier, the benefits of playing video games. So I opened this up, and I found that, well, that's just the abstract. So I'm going to go over here and click the PDF. I can actually read the whole thing here. And it turns out that this is a great review. It's a very thorough review of the research that's been done on the benefits. So if I want to really delve deep, I'm going to pull up an article like this. This is from the American Psychologist, journal called American Psychologist, which is a publication of the American Psychological Association. And if I look those guys up, I'm going to find out they've been around for a long time. They're the premier organization for psychologists in America. So this is a great source. It would take me a little longer, but again, I'd start by skimming. First paragraph, first sentence in every paragraph, and then the last paragraph. And then I go through and take notes. And I would also